Hello, this is Bill Meridian speaking to you again from Vienna, Austria. This is the second in a series of planetary stock trading presentations. The first one was very basic. It explained the idea and the derivation of first trade horoscopes, what they actually represent. In this second presentation, we'll go into some of the more dramatic price moves that have occurred recently. There has been a long delay in continuing this series due to my travel schedule, but these should appear on a fairly regular basis. And if you do stay around till the end of this presentation, which is only about 8 to 10 minutes, there is a prediction at the end that I think you will find quite valuable. In the last 6 to 8 months, there have been some quite dramatic moves that were signaled far in advance through the horoscopes of first trade. The first one we'll look at is the chart of Henry Schein, HSIC, trading in the NASDAQ 100. It began trading on November 3rd, 1995. I set the chart for the opening of the market, which at that point was 9:30 a.m. And these first two examples are from Dell Horoscope magazine, which I write 6 months in advance. So in other words, this November projection was written in May of 2014, 6 months before the earnings report. Here is a brief description of the company's operations, and then I say that the company is scheduled to report their earnings between the 5th to the 9th of November. And if it is in that time period, you should buy the stock for the following reason. On the 9th of November, Jupiter is contraparallel the Sun, and it is 45 degrees to the MC on the next day. This will likely lead to a positive earnings surprise. Now let me just say that 45, 135, 90, and 180 on a 90-degree dial is equals, and Jupiter connected to the midheaven, if it's an opposition, it's a hard aspect, it is still positive. In case you were wondering why I'm selecting a hard aspect. Here we see the horoscope itself, and I have thrown in the Iranian planets Chiron and the asteroids, as I usually do. And we see that the midheaven is 6 Libra, the ascendant is 16 Sagittarius, and so forth. HSIC shares jumped by 6.6% on that day when the earnings were announced. This is known as the earnings announcement method from my book, or the earnings surprise method. As anyone who has analyzed the market knows, stocks are always more volatile around the time when earnings are announced. Now this was a 6.6% move in one day. There are 252 trading days in a year, so multiply 252 times 6.6%, and that will give you the annualized return, which is quite significant. The second example also was written in Dell Horoscope magazine. It appeared in the December 2014 issue, written in June of 2014. And there's a brief description of Oracle. It started trading on March 12, 1986, and it was scheduled to report between December 16th and 23rd, with Jupiter trine natal Uranus and the Uranus station sextile to the MC, the latter being more important. Oracle is likely to move up when earnings are released. Here is the horoscope. You'll notice an 11 Aquarius midheaven, which was being sextiled by the Uranus station in early Aries. And you will also note that Uranus at 22 Sagittarius, which is conjunct Mars within minutes, was being trined by transiting Jupiter, which was at 22 Leo. And here we see a 10% price move. Now again, there are 252 trading days in a year. If you could do 10% every day, you would multiply 10% times 252, and that's the type of annualized return you would be receiving from making this type of a trade. Next, Southwest Airlines in October of 2014 reported their earnings when Saturn was applying to an opposition to the midheaven. Here we see an outer wheel consisting of the day upon which the price reacted from the earnings announcement, October 27th, 2014. And if you look at the bottom of the outer ring, you will note the arrow points to Saturn at 23 Scorpio 21. If you look at the top of the chart, there is an arrow pointing to the midheaven, 23 Taurus 59. That's applying within about a half a degree. Here is the price action. Southwest, ticker symbol LUV, dropped 2 to 3% on that day. Now again, take that and annualize it. If you multiply 2% by 252, that'll tell you the annualized rate of change. And by the way, if you're getting the idea that the midheaven is very important in this type of work, you are absolutely correct. Charles Jane used to say that in a mundane chart, which this is, whether it be of a country, a city, a state, a stock, or a company, the public points are the moon and the midheaven. And that is also true here, especially with the MC. Next, we have Netflix. They reported October 17th, 2014. Pluto was square the MC when Netflix announced earnings and the stock declined. Here's Netflix and the horoscope of the day. Again, the outer wheel is the day of the price drop. Now, Netflix either reported in the morning of that day or after the close in the prior day, and we capture the price movement as soon as the market opens. Here we have Pluto at 11 degrees Capricorn squaring the midheaven at 10 degrees of Aries. Here we have a 24% price drop in one day. Multiply that times 252 to get the annualized rate of return. And if you'll note, the stock made a high in early July, made a higher high in September, and then a lower high in October, forming a technical topping pattern. Some people might call that a head and shoulders. But with this horoscope and seeing the Pluto square the midheaven, you could have confirmed that that was a topping formation. Plain old technical analysis is not going to tell you when it's going to break down, but the horoscope of the first trade will. I mentioned a bonus prediction at the beginning, and here we have it. IBM started trading February 14th, 1924 at 10 a.m., is due to report on the 20th of January 2015. Now, they can pre-announce, which means they can, in the prior week, say we're going to have a much worse or much better quarter than we think, or they may vary this by a day. If it's the 19th, 20th, or 21st, I would be bearish on the stock, because Saturn is contra-parallel the progressed Sun exactly on that date, and that is the date they are due to report their earnings. This is a teaching example, and I'm not assuming any liability from recommending a trade in this stock, but I have managed to quite successfully trade IBM, especially in the last 2 years, based upon this midheaven, whether it be natal or progressed. Right now, I'm working with the progressed Sun, so I'm conveying to you my experience that this is a very accurate horoscope. Now, the book Planetary Stock Trading 4 is available at BillMeridian.com. This is the 4th edition in my series of planetary stock trading books, the first of which came out 20 years ago. The charts are all new and updated, and each edition adds more analysis, and I certainly have the latest discoveries in this book. Many of those discoveries are based upon my partnership with Gene Vicotan at astroapp.com. AstroApp is a web-based service for astrologers. No CDs, no downloading of a program onto your hard drive. Instead, you just pay a subscription fee and you will have a wealth of astrological tools at your service, including my database of thousands of American, Canadian, Australian, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and English stocks that are updated on a weekly basis. But the most exciting part is the tools that enable you to sort through horoscopes in seconds. Do you want to know which charts will have Saturn opposite, or Pluto opposite, or Pluto square their midheaven? You find the degree that Pluto is transiting at when earnings reporting is being done, and you can zip right through and find all of these stocks. In addition to that, you can now measure price moves, and I'll be explaining that in an upcoming video in this series. Thank you for listening, and remember to keep your eyes on IBM, January 20th, 2015.